Hello drag experts, my name is Jer, and if sucking was a competitive sport, I would lose every time. We are back at the Nosferatu beach party and there was not one singular angler fish reveal. I was so bummed. This week wore me out in so many ways. There was drama, there was fighting, there was screaming, there was a little crying, and there was a lot of vomiting. A lot of it. There was retching, there was hospitalization. Dragula Titans 2 is not playing around. Every reality TV trope has been present in this season, and as a viewer, I am simultaneously living, but it's also so much. And this is all coming off the heels of a lot of really boring seasons of regular Drag Race. And while Dragula and Drag Race are not the same as each other, drag competition series are inevitably going to kind of go head to head, and this last season of All Stars was very boring. All the drama that happened was kind of manufactured. This drama is real, raw, and unfiltered. I think I said last week that I wasn't sure how much longer I could take it, and I think the Boulets and the production crew are starting to feel the same way because things are getting so heated, and we're gonna talk about as much of that as possible today. First, I just want to say thank you all for being patient. A lot of the videos this week have been super delayed because I was extremely sick last week. I'm feeling better now, but thank you for being patient. Dalia is feeling like she is being dogpiled by the room, and this is a storyline that continues through the entire episode all the way until the end. I made a short the other day, feel free to go check that out. But to recap what I said, I feel like it's really easy to armchair psychology Dalia and say, oh well, she's clearly going through this or this, because I think we as humans are going to see that behavior and are going to resonate with it either because we know someone that's like that or because we ourselves are like that. And so there's going to be polarizing opinions in a lot of different ways. I think the reality is that parasocial relationship that exists between reality show competitors and audience members is really fine and kind of blurred. We don't know Dalia. Dalia doesn't know us, and therefore she doesn't owe us anything. If you're feeling activated by her behavior, it's probably because you're feeling something unresolved towards someone you know that's like her. And so it's easy to scapegoat those feelings towards someone you don't actually know and hold them to some impossible standard because they're on TV. Dalia is a human like every single one of us and is inevitably going to make mistakes. And what's clearly happening that she's also expressing is that her reality is slightly impaired. What she is experiencing is not what the world is experiencing. What she is hearing is not what's being said. That is a complicated place to be in. And as a human being, I feel bad for her for having to experience that because this is going to follow her for a long time. The people in the room get to determine if they are going to accept her apology, if they are going to accept her and forgive somehow the behavior. Her fellow contestants are the ones who get to determine if they're going to hold space for her growth. They're the ones who ultimately get to make the decision on what happens with their relationship with Dalia. She owes us nothing. We do not need to be unkind in any way. And so I feel bad for her as a human being, not as a contestant, because she did and said the things she did, whether that was impaired or not. She's the one who has to deal with the consequences of however that shakes out, either with her fellow competitors or with the production team. And we're seeing as she comes in the room and is sulking along in the corner, Dalia is really not connecting with the group right now. And I think without her instigating, that opened up doors for other drama to crop up. We already got little breadcrumbs earlier in the season about Jay and Zavalleta, and this whole storyline between them explodes to a place that I was expecting from the trailer, but not the subject matter. We all deal with trauma the way that we do, and Zava, I think, has not resolved whatever has gone on between her and Jay and their ex. I also don't know how fair it is to even bring up the ex in this competition setting because this has nothing to do with what's happening in the competition. And this is something I said last week. I have no problem when drama crops up naturally between contestants. Someone's being a punk and so you respond to them, they get activated, you fight. That's one thing. But to bring something completely out of left field and drag that into the spotlight, something that did not happen on camera, I think it's a little distasteful. And to drag in someone who is a third party, who gets no say on how their story is being told, who has real life consequences of their story being brought up, is now going to have to explain themselves to people in their personal life. This is someone who did not ask to be involved in this drama, but is now being ripped into it. From what we gather about the tea, Zava had a boyfriend. The two of them were not very good for each other. The boyfriend and Jay were friends, and were just very casually talking. After Zava and this guy broke up, Jay and him got together after some period of time, and Zava felt betrayed because she thinks that Jay took her man while they were still dating. Even if things are complicated now with how she feels, she just needs to know that Jay wasn't sneaking around trying to sabotage her relationship. That's what I gathered was the general frustration. And at the end of this, I'm glad that Zava decided to take matters into her own hands and say, we came into this at a bad place. I am willing to just start from scratch and figure out how to go forward. Maybe we'll become friends, and maybe we'll still hate each other, but at least we start clean with a fresh slate. And I think that is really admirable and big of Zava to ultimately just decide to take the higher road, because Jay in all of this has tried to just be as neutral as possible. Jay's response has been, I don't want to talk about this, but if you're going to bring it up, I'm going to shut it down. I'm a big fan of never start a fight, but always end one, and I feel like that's what Jay did in this episode. Jay was not backing down. Jay was very firm how they were presenting their truth and protecting this third party. I thoroughly enjoyed Cynthia being the voice of reason, trying to be the one to go out and just be there for Zava, to hug her and try to encourage her to just process quickly and go back to making the show, because that's what they're there to do. They're there to make TV. And whatever's happening outside of the show can be addressed after filming is done. But Zava needed someone right then in that moment to help gather them, center them, and anchor them back into reality, and it made me love Cynthia even more that she chose to be that person. I think there's a groupthink that happens when someone is kind of exploding. No one really wants to get involved, but Cynthia showed so much selflessness, so much care for her fellow castmate, and that made me warm up to her even more than I already did. The whiplash of Zava coming back in to try and recenter, only to immediately get sideswiped by that video message, was so much. The whole challenge theme is centering around vampires. They have to eat an entire bulb of garlic and wash that down with pig's blood. They have to create a Nosferatu beach party look, and then in groups do a performance, and then the extermination is eating a bunch of horrid looking stuff that's meant to be like a vampiric feast. Yuck. So the fright feed is awful. If you have ever eaten too much garlic, you know that garlic is like a broom. You will not have anything left in your lower GI tract as soon as that garlic has hit the dance floor. I had this pizza and it had something like 25 cloves of garlic on it. I was shitting for 4 days straight. And so this made my stomach gurgle. My partner put too much garlic in a sauce the other day and both of us had tummy troubles. So I already know that this was an uncomfortable experience for all of them for the days coming up. Bubble guts, hoopin', fartin', all of it. Plus the bad breath. I had a hard time with this challenge because the retching was awful, but Jay does win the fright feat and thus gains an advantage, which is a shield spell that they can either use to save themselves or someone else. I do wonder if Jay had not used the shield on himself, would he have been in the bottom? It seemed like the Boulets were implying that. I would not have wanted to do that challenge. Ugh, that would have been awful. Jay also gets an advantage of getting to assign the teams. He chooses to work with Blackberry, which I think was a very smart decision. Blackberry is a great performer and they already worked together in week 1, so they know that they have group synergy at least. Blackberry is someone with a huge Rolodex of looks, and so both of them would easily be able to accommodate each other's drag to look cohesive in a challenge. Then we have Team Dalia, Sigourney, and Abora. This team was awful. I think anybody that was paired up with Dalia who's already feeling really isolated and just dogpiled on is going to have a hard time getting her to focus on the challenge. Sigourney is also feeling pretty isolated. I can't imagine that she would be super easy to work with either. Plus she's just a huge personality. And then you've got Abora, who is just their own beast of a creature. And so this was literally poison in a bottle. I don't think any of them managed to work through through the hindrance of each other very well, their synergy was not finessed. But I mean, how could they have? Disasterina, Jaharia, and Zavalleta are another team. I'm really loving Disasterina this season, and I think that she was kind of that group's anchor. Jaharia, I think, was really struggling with the challenge and to connect to it, and Zava is going through what she's going through right now. All of the emotions are still raw and vulnerable, and I know from personal experience, it's really hard to perform when you feel like garbage, especially when someone is in the room agitating you. And then we have Team Eva, Cynthia, and Priscilla, who I think was arguably the strongest group because they had Eva with them. Eva's a brilliant performer. She's got a strong idea of what she wants to do, and I feel like she helped that group stay stable in kind of troubled waters because the energy of the entire room is a little staticky, a lot staticky. I want to blast through the performance because I will be talking about these looks later on this week. First off, I love the Boulet's outfits. They were so campy and kind of comic book vampire. I loved the corset and the bodysuit with those wings, and the fact they had to take those off so the judges could sit down was camp. And I love the idea of something more whimsical rather than going for a super stylized prosthetic look like they've done in the past. For the performance, I'm gonna say that Cynthia, while it was confusing, kind of worked me out. It was exactly what I wanted from Cynthia, and it was so funny. Cynthia is the queen of unserious, and I love what she's doing this season, especially after having done already a vampire look for her wedding and a vampire look for the Halloween party. Doing a third vampire look, she would either have to be better than those last two looks or do something completely different. So I appreciate that she went in a completely nonsensical direction and kind of did a throwback to that weird alien creature from her season. I loved Blackberry and Jay as these 90s vampires. It was giving me vampiric salt and pepper. And Eva was one of the best performers of the night, hands down. Every time that anybody was doing anything, I kept looking for Eva. Eva and Blackberry. I just wanted to see them. I think they understood the vibe of this challenge the best. I will say, as stiff as Jay was, those hip swivels he was doing was kind of giving me tingles. That's all. Dalia was really stiff in her group, and I completely understand her bottom placement. Abora was just a mess. And I feel bad for Sigourney because I think she was trying her best to at least stay afloat in that group, but that ship was going down. The thing that really confused me was Jaharia's look. It's another spider look. We already got a really elevated, high fashion couture, almost winning look during the Halloween party of Spider. So I'm confused why the perspective would be Spider again all of this time later. On top of the fact that was already brought up by the judges that spiders are not super synonymous with vampires. I would think rats and bats first. If I were to think of a bug, which I don't really, I guess I would think of something like a tarantula. But even then, that's such a stretch. I don't know why she didn't go for something more expected. Plus, the bathing suit was not very good. And this is such a disappointment from everything else she's done so far. Jaharia has been working it out, and I really don't understand where Jaharia's brain was when constructing this look. My buzzword is abnormal, because it was really abnormal for what she normally does, which is elevated, high fashion, high concept. This just didn't really have a lot of thought put into it. Jay uses the shield to save himself. When Swan said, JK is no longer up for extermination, and then he said, was I before? I laughed very hard, that was funny. During deliberation, when we got to see the up close of Eva, she looked like vampiric Jill Valentine. I was obsessed with that little bob. And the way that it was just tucked behind that vampire ear, gooning. I really love Dragula, but I hate how abridged the floor shows are. I feel like I do not get to absorb the looks that well. And then they breeze through the performances and just do one solid take. They don't give us multiples, so it just flies by. I wish that we could linger a little bit more on the looks. And I know the Boulets say that audiences get bored. I want to see more of the looks. That's what I'm in for. The winner of the challenge is called as Blackberry, which I completely agreed with because she was fire in the challenge and that look was so strong, especially not going in a typical 60s direction, going in something more 90s. That's vintage for her. I thought that was a brilliant take on the assignment, and it was different than what everyone else did, so it made her stand out positively. And then there's a bottom for this week, and that is Zava, Jaharia, Dalia, and Abora. and they need to eat this rotten vampiric picnic. I am interested why some weeks there is an extermination challenge, and then other weeks they just go to the gallows and then one of them is decided that they're gonna go home. Category is confusion. A lot happens between the deliberations and this extermination challenge. I want to first talk about Swan going back to comfort Jaharia. The Boulets are professionals. They are out here to not only make a TV show, but also to cultivate a cast. These are people that they're going to tour with. These are people that they're going to invite to clubs and parties and gigs and to travel across the world with them. They need to have a good working relationship with them and not have any type of friction now that could develop into a rift later. They need to preserve these relationships and be there for them and not just allow television to overtake whatever that relationship is. This is not Michelle being forced to go out to apologize to Adore while not really wanting to do it. This was Swan, I think, very naturally understanding my words hurt someone and it is not meant to hurt. It is meant to help them grow and to do better so that they can succeed in this competition and maybe win if they can get their head right. And so seeing Swan back there squatting with Jaharia and really just being there for her, I got goosebumps, I got chills. I just love the Boulets so much and I could never hate the Boulets. These are divas who diva. Other highlights, Zava wants to restart her relationship with Jay and Dalia got clocked by production. From my understanding, Dalia is going through some type of mental health crisis. Without evaluating it too harshly, what her impression of reality is not what's actually happening. Producers are hearing things she's saying and are responding. Then Dalia is hearing their response and misinterpreting it. So the Boulets, being people who are in charge of a TV show and need to know, hey, is something going on that we need to address? Is someone breaking the rules that we need to be a part of? Wait, are they not breaking the rules and are you making up stuff? Are you in a bad place right now? Are you potentially going to be a liability to yourself? We need to get deeply involved in this and pull out any weeds that are growing because we have to fix this now. Again, these are people that they might invite to tour with them. They need to make sure that they're okay. They're not just here to make TV and that is so present. They are here to make sure that their cast is safe and that their cast is the best versions of themselves that they can be. And this was not caught on camera, but they are mic'd. And so seeing this backstage footage while piping in the mics, addressing what Dalia is experiencing and what is actually happening was another goosebump moment for me. We do not get this veneer of reality TV broken very much. Most reality TV producers and showrunners try to hide the fact that there is an entire universe that is happening behind the camera. They want us to just focus on the fantasy of the competition show, but this season has focused so much on that barrier that exists between the queens and us. And that's interesting to see. And Dalia's presentation of what's happening in her reality not being congruent with what's actually happening is concerning for the Boulets and the production team. They don't need this to turn into something else, so they have to take care of this quickly. But I do feel bad that now Dalia has looked not very good on camera and is going to get a lot of backlash going forward because of this. So I want to encourage y'all to not be weird towards her. Again, her castmates are the ones who get to determine how they feel about her actions, not us. The extermination challenge was nasty. They have to eat a bunch of bloody looking food and I had a very hard time watching it. What I found most interesting was that Abora ignored explicit instructions and ate props that were not meant to be eaten. Food that was on the table that was not there for consumption. And the medics forced her to evacuate her body and had to bring her to the ER. The Boulets mentioned pre this season airing that there would be disqualifications. I wonder if Abora is going to have to be DQ'd, one for not listening, but two for hospitalization reasons. If you eat something that is not meant to be consumed, you could potentially die. And having someone on set who's not listening and is going to do something risky just for the purpose of staying there might be too much of a liability to keep. And that might need to be a strong message sent. You were told not to do this and you did it anyway. you can't be here. That might be a possibility, which would be a bummer because I think Abora's been really killing it and I'm a silent stan right now. We do not see who's going home, which is interesting because earlier in the episode, when the Boulets were talking to each other, they said that they need to start picking off ghouls quickly, and a lot of them. Is this gonna be a double? Will Dalia go home so that they can let her take care of herself and be under supervision? And will Abora go home as well for breaking the rules and not listening? I think it's very possible that we're gonna see a double next week. But then that leads me to who will participate in the Hellbound showdown. Because if two people are gone, are they just gonna bring back Loris? So let's talk about Loris and Jade going head to head. Jade once again did not know the words. I am utterly baffled why she made it through that challenge. I wasn't even getting vampire from her look. It was confusing to me. I don't even think she nailed the beach party element. She looked like a stripper. Loris was giving beach party down. I loved the yellow bikini. I loved the prosthetics. I loved the body of it all. Her performance was stiff as hell. And I think that did hold her back a little bit. But the Boulets said that Jade crushed Loris, which I don't agree with. Her look was off topic, again, and her performance was mid, again. To me, Loris scored high on look but was lower on performance. But Jade was not giving a beach party performance either, so she was also low. So what's more egregious? The Boulets are in charge of this at the end of the day, but in my opinion, Loris stomped and Jade should have gone home. Again, this whole episode was littered with filth. Disgusting challenges in the Fright Feet and in the Extermination, which curdles my stomach worrying that next week we are going to get that filth challenge. And I said it last week that I was expecting one this week. We kind of got it, but I have a bad feeling that next week is gonna be filth. And after everything they did this week, I'm not looking forward to it. What did y'all think about this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And later this week, I will be doing a ranking of the Nosferatu Beach Party looks. Keep an eye out for that. And if you have the means, feel free to check out the Extravaganza Extra membership, which allows you to watch a couple of my posted videos a few days earlier than the general public does. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all on the flip.